Happening right now on Sports Extra, it is time to party like it's 2008. Georgia heading back to the College World Series for the first time in 18 long years. It's time to stock up on those sour belts, everybody. The Dogs, they're heading to Omaha.
I think about Charlie Condon, who's stuck here with me. Could have left, didn't. Helped us build this thing.
And I'll do whatever it takes for this team, and everyone says the same thing. They'll say the same thing if you ask them that question. It means so much to this team, I can't even describe it.
It just shows that we don't give up on both sides, pitching, hitting. We go out there, we're gritty, and that describes this team. Gritty, and we know we're always in it.
I get chills thinking about it, but I truly do go home and think about Omaha, and I think about going to that place and taking Georgia back to this place and securing the legacy that Georgia needs to have in Omaha.
What a year for college baseball in this state. Plus, the Braves remain the best team in all of Major League Baseball, and Falcons wrap up their OTAs this week. And oh yeah, this little thing called the FIFA World Cup, it's right around the corner. There's no such thing as an off-season here at 11 Alive or in Atlanta. Sports Extra starts now. Welcome to Sports Extra, everybody. If you were on Kudzu Hill today, hope you're resting. I hope you're going to be well rested for tomorrow for a day of work. But I'm really excited to bring in two of the OGs of this program. Right to my right, a guy who has not been in this building in I don't know how long. I bug you every single Sunday. John Michaels from 680 The Fan. Welcome back.
Well, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
AAU basketball is over, so now I'm back.
Okay, he's back. He's got a lot of things going on outside the building, but we're happy that you're here and always happy to have our Braves insider, not 680, 92.9. So we got some dueling guys in here. Grant McAuley, how's it going?
Going well, and the Braves obviously have given us a lot more fun things to talk about this year. I'm sure you know all about that.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we didn't think that the Braves were going to be in that position. We didn't think Georgia was going to be in this position either. Unbelievable baseball being played there in Athens. You heard Josh Brooks, the athletic director, say after the game that he wished that both of these teams could go to Omaha, because what a series. What do you think about what Georgia's doing right now?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable series, Maria. I was actually watching high school basketball yesterday because my son had a tournament up at a high school, and I'm sitting in there, and the athletic director from Roswell High School runs up to me and goes, Georgia just scored 5 runs, because I had looked at 7-0. You love to see this with college baseball, and what Georgia was able to accomplish beating Mississippi State. You beat them 4 times during the regular season, and now you beat them twice in the Super Regional. It's almost impossible to beat a team 6 times in the same year, but you do that, and now you'll head to Omaha as the highest ranked remaining seed with a chance to win a national title.
We were all really disappointed when Georgia Tech had that early exit because they were higher than Georgia. Now Georgia, the highest remaining seed that's going to head to Omaha. They end this drought of 18 years, Grant, and all these things seem to be coming together for Georgia at the right time. But they looked so good against Mississippi State, a team, as John mentioned, they swept in Starkville earlier this year. What is it with the Dogs where they're able to be successful right now?
Well, I think the biggest thing that you see and what great teams have is resilience, and you can see it inside of the 2 games that they had to win this weekend, because when you go down 7-0 and you're just trying to figure out a way to push yourself to show some kind of life, and then you have, a 5-run 4th, a 4-run 5th, a knockdown drag-out fight to win game 1, then you come back in game 2, and you get pushed the same way, and you still come out on top. It just says a lot about how this club is constructed, and obviously, I think these emotional lifts really matter, especially when you're looking for momentum that oftentimes in this sport is as good as the next day's starting pitcher.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you can win in the aggregate, too, when you're winning this way.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's important that you mentioned is it's good when you're winning. No matter what the sport is, but especially in baseball. Daniel Jackson also mentioned it's easier to have camaraderie whenever we're winning baseball games. He was incredible, by the way. He continues these Golden Spikes moments. 2-run dinger in extra innings on Sunday to lift their team over Mississippi State. These were 2 back-to-back games, John, where you needed a clutch hitter in big moments. Daniel Jackson was that. What do you think about what he's done?
I think they need to add a Dan Jackson to the basketball team as well, because Dan Jackson in football had one of the biggest hits ever against Haynes King a couple of years ago. Daniel Jackson, that's a no doubt about it. He did learn from Trey Phelps, though. He did not decide to body slam the bat or anything. He just watched it. And sometimes when you hit a ball that far, I've never done that, you just stand and you watch and you have a great time. There is resiliency, Grant. The only thing that scares me in Omaha, pitching can do you in. You can get in that loser's bracket quickly. They're going to have to pitch better than they did this weekend. The good thing, they're probably the best hitting team remaining.
You're right, and hitting shows up big time in college baseball.
Contagious.
No doubt. Hitting is contagious, and when you say contagious, 21 combined home runs in the series between Mississippi State and Georgia. If you like the long ball, I hope you were in Athens, or at least paying attention.
I was going to say, there was a commercial years ago, George Mira's son said, chicks dig the long ball. So in Georgia, maybe there's a new
Greg
area.
Maddox and
But I think
Tom
George Mirasan was in there as well.
wow, I did not have the George Mirasan reference on our bingo card for today, but I'll take it.
Well, I'll take it too, because what a wild turn of events there in Athens, because every time I felt like I was turning around, you saw someone else hitting a home run. Grant, when hitting is as contagious as it was in this series, what can this do for Georgia's bats in Omaha?
Again, I think it just kind of gives them that momentum that they certainly need, and having one of, if not the best players in the sport, also doing his thing and perhaps putting up some numbers that could get him in a very elite club. I think that is the kind of thing that you can really kind of look to guys like that to provide you those moments and to drive things, no pun intended, for a run to and through the College World Series. And I think that Jackson's one of those guys that he can do some special things. And if he does them in the right moments, Georgia could be hoisting a trophy at the end of this thing.
And as John said earlier, as long as we're not celebrating in a way that'll get you ejected from a baseball game, it's all good. Let's talk about Wes Johnson, because he has completely turned this thing around in just 3 short years. This is his 3rd year leading this program, and look at what they're doing. They're going to the College World Series, first time since 2008. How much credit do you give Wes Johnson for this turnaround?
You got to give him a lot. I mean, you're talking about a program, again, 2008 doesn't even feel real when you say Georgia hasn't been to a College World Series in now 18 years, but now they're going back, and they play a certain style, because even last year when they didn't make the College World Series, it was home run after home run. It was guys that can mash the baseball, and that's a fun style of ball to play. So you give Wes a ton of credit for what he's built at Georgia. He's obviously got a great AD in Josh Brooks that's going to back him in any way possible, and now here they are. They're going to be the favorites to win this whole thing, and I hope Georgia can bring back another national title. I don't know if we do a parade for that, but maybe we should.
I mean, we would have to, right?
Yeah,
Got to ring the bell at least, right?
I think a parade is in order.
I like a parade.
I love a parade. We love parades around here. Also, Wes Johnson has experience in Omaha, so if anyone leading them the way is the right guy, I feel like Wes Johnson is that. Another team who is winning a lot of baseball right now, first team in Major League Baseball to 40 wins this season. Your Atlanta Braves, everyone. Remember, a lot of people had counted them down and out, Grant, as we were heading into the regular season. I'm not looking at you. You're calling yourself out a little bit here. But in spring training, there were valid concerns. And now, of course, look at this team. I mean, they are dominant all over the place, Grant. What's the most surprising aspect of this run they've been on so far?
I'm going to say the completeness of the Atlanta Braves is really the secret sauce of what's working so well for them this year, because even when the big names aren't coming through with the big hits, you are getting contributions from all 13 position players, and it feels like all 13 pitchers as well at different times, because look at Sunday as a great example of this. You needed somebody to come up with a big pinch hit. It was Michael Harris. But who started that rally? Well, it was guys like Dom Smith and Mike Yastrzemski and Jorge Mateo, who were not really looked at as big factors for leading this club to the best record in baseball.
Sure.
I digress. Bryce Elder gives you another quality start. Who had him leading the staff in this way along with Chris Sale? And then Didier Fuentes, a 20-year-old rookie, locks down his first save in the rain with a tying run on second to start the inning. It just feels like the vibes are good for the Atlanta Braves right now, and that confidence, that winning has bred a lot of confidence, and it's because of the completeness of the entire team. You're not just asking one star to carry you the whole way. So we just talked about that maybe in college baseball being the way. Major League Baseball, you need a lot to get to the marathon of 162, and the Braves have got a lot of runners.
It does feel like a lot of times you're turning around with the Braves, it's a different guy that we're mentioning. Well, there was some concern with Michael Harris because he had the back issue on Saturday. He comes in the pouring rain. You mentioned that, and he has a bases clearing double on Sunday to help get the sweep of the Pirates. What is it about Michael Harris, John, at the dish that's really working for him, especially in a situation where he's pinch hitting?
It was something where a year ago he found a flaw in his swing and he fixed it. And unlike, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago where he fixed it and then he went back to where he was, he stayed the same. There's no lack of confidence from Michael Harris. We've all had a chance to be at his bowling tournament. We know his pops really well. Yeah. He's a guy that's confident in the way that he goes about his business, and now he's just coming through time and time and time again. And for him to come off the bench, think about how hard that is. And Grant, you know this better than I do. Yep. You've been sitting on the bench for 2 hours, your back is tight, and now all of a sudden you come up with the biggest moment of the game and you come through. That's what this team has been about all year, and I think a lot of it is a reflection on Walt Weiss. When Walt Weiss took down Jorge Soler earlier in the year, I think these guys said, we got a dude we can fight for, and they fight for him every single night.
Talking about the form tackle, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got a guy who's going to fight for us. We're going to go out there and fight for him. But I'll give you 2 words on Michael Harris that have made all the difference in 2026, and they came from Walt Weiss. And those words are swing decisions. He's making better ones this year. You're seeing that. He did, as John said, make the adjustment with his hands, but it's the swing decisions this year. And it doesn't hurt that he hits the ball as hard as anybody in Major League Baseball, and he's doing that consistently.
By the way, this has nothing to do with baseball, but I've come to find that when these Braves players have babies for the first time, there's this new power that happens. So he's a new dad. So maybe that's behind it as well. Coming up, the Falcons locked in Drake London for years to come. Who on this roster could be next for the new front office? We're going to talk about that and more next. Time for a little Falcons football. The first monster offseason deal is buttoned up by the new Falcons front office. We got Drake London agreeing to a 4-year extension worth up to $150 million, $100 million guaranteed. What do you think about this deal, John?
I think it's the right thing to do. Look, Drake London may not be the top 3 receiver where he's getting paid, but he's a top 10 receiver in the NFL. And now you give whoever the quarterback may be somebody that he knows they're going to throw to for the next couple of years. And here's the good thing. When you're not paying your quarterbacks, as the Falcons are not, you can extend guys that have a chance to be a big part of your offense. Drake London at 6'4 or 6'5, he's always talked about the dark place he goes to during games. He doesn't miss very many games. He's a guy that you can trust and throw the football to. Look, it's the going rate of the wide receiver. Is it too high? Probably. But guess what? The salary cap goes up every year, and now you've got money to maneuver around however you want to do it.
You don't have an option when you have a player like this on your roster. You have to give him that kind of money. And keep in mind, Drake London about to be on his 6th quarterback since he got drafted in the NFL. It's astonishing.
Yeah, and if you just look what happened with Christian Watson of Green Bay, who hasn't had more than, I think, a 50-catch season, who just got $100 million, don't complain about Drake London. We got a stud, and we paid him like we should have.
Yeah, I think that Drake, very deserving of this deal. But now that means Bijan Robinson has to be next, right, Grant? Because he's the one that you're looking at and saying, you can't let him go, obviously. But there's a going rate for a running back, and it's really, really high. What do you think ultimately happens for Bijan, and what does it need to look like in order for him to stay?
Well, ultimately, I feel like this is a deal that gets done. However, you don't have to do it right now. I think that they went in the right order by getting the Drake London deal done. I think they've still got, 2 years really to figure this out. I don't want to throw anything negative out into the universe, but it is a very demanding position, a very volatile position. So obviously, if he stays healthy and keeps producing, he's going to put himself in position, John, to get a huge deal. What exactly that looks like in 2 years, though, it's hard to say.
John, do you think that Jahmyr Gibbs is really setting the market for this? Do you think Detroit and Atlanta are looking at each other and saying who goes first?
100%. And the thing with Bijan, you've got him locked in this year, and it's only at like $5 million because he's still on his rookie deal. You've already locked in the 5th-year option next year that's at 11 that Grant alluded to. So you don't necessarily have to do anything. You even then could do a franchise tag and a second franchise tag if you want to. I don't think they want to play that way with a guy that's been really the face of your franchise the last couple of years. I think at the end of this year, to answer the question about Jahmyr Gibbs, I think they're both going to get broke off, and it's going to be 4 years, $90 million, 4 years, $95 million. However it needs to be done with Bijan Robinson, you don't monkey around with a guy that's giving you over 1,400 yards, 80-plus catches a season ago, and might be one of the best players in all of football, not just at running back.
You don't want to be first either. So if you're Detroit and you're Atlanta, you're saying who's going to be first here? If you're Atlanta, yeah, exactly. You want Detroit to be first in this scenario to set the market for the running backs, and then Bijan maybe gets a little bit more. I mean, we'll see, but I think Bijan definitely, don't play with your food. You got to get this done. Kyle Pitts, another one that we're looking at and saying, what happens with him now, Grant? What do you think?
I think, and maybe this is just the skepticism that I have, this natural, is I've got to see you do it again before you really, and that's why he's in this position, right? That's why they use the franchise tag. It's so that they could see him go out and do it again. There were areas in which I felt like he really leveled up his game last year, but there are also things that he does not do as well as somebody that you might be looking to give that big contract, including blocking. I mean, I know that that's a fundamental thing, but it is one of those things that I feel like if he were a bit better at that, we might have a very different and more difficult decision to make in terms of the money, the years, and when exactly you wanted to get this thing done, and may not have even been talking about a franchise tag.
The new front office has, from the very beginning, not been very high on Kyle Pitts, at least verbally. To me, it indicates they got to see what he's working with. I think Grant makes a good point there. We have seen a video surface of James Pierce Jr. working out here in Atlanta, which means he is staying in shape. Obviously, he has to do that because we do not know what the punishment will be from the NFL when it comes to the legal matter that has now been dealt with for James Pierce Jr. What do you think ultimately happens with James, whether or not it's suspensions or whatever the new front office may deem for him?
Oh, he's 100% getting suspended, and it's going to be by the NFL. And look, I'm happy that the legalities have worked out for James. I hope in the next year, with the stuff that he's got to go through legally, he can take care of business and just get back to football. I know there's a lot of people that don't want him around. We've talked to female listeners on our station that say, hey, we're no longer going to be able to cheer for him no matter what ended up happening in court. Roger Goodell has proven time and time again, if you do anything that's domestic, you're going to get suspended. If I had to guess, it's going to be somewhere between 4 and 6 games for James Pierce Jr. I don't think the front office has to do anything because the league's going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And then when he comes back, make sure you're in shape, make sure you're ready to go, and now go out and get us 9 or 10 sacks over the rest of the regular season.
All he's got to do, get his ducks in the row off the football field, focus on football like you mentioned, and look at this as a new opportunity because football was almost taken away from James. As long as he can stay all good, then I think he'll have a bright future. Really quickly, Russell Wilson, he's one of the quarterbacks, you're already giggling, so I know your answer. He's one of the quarterbacks that we've been waiting for a retirement announcement. Well, it happened this week, and now the conversation switches to, is Russ a Hall of Famer? Grant, real quick from you, do you think he is?
I think 5 years ago we were having a different discussion. I think what he did for mobile quarterbacks, obviously the Super Bowl title, all of those things, those are check marks for him. But the fall off, John, I don't know. I don't think so. Borderline. How about that?
Okay.
No, he's getting in. There's no doubt in my mind Russ is getting in. He should have 2 Super Bowls if his dumb coach would have just ran the ball.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pete.
For me, I think that Russ 100,000, 10%. I'm going to stamp that again. I think he's getting in.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the conversation fell off with him, but I think if you look at the totality of his career, he's deserving of a Hall of Fame nod. I know he fell off, but you can't really.
And then he'll tell you he's Mr. Unlimited. Unlimited.
He'll tell you a lot of things. You know who else will tell you a lot of things? Grant McAuley. He's in the house. So that means Grant's Game Changers are underway, and there's some guys we need to focus up on. That's next. When you see a situation like this, you know what time it is. Grant's Game Changers. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's start with one where he said, quote, I'm very cocky, and he has a reason to be cocky right now. Mauricio Dubon is a game changer for you. Why?
Because he's been changing the game and the whole paradigm for how the Braves can construct a lineup this year. I asked Walt Weiss about this, and he said indispensable is a great way to describe Mauricio Dubon, who already this year, if you look at it, 263, 6 homers, 36 runs knocked in, just 62 games played. He's already eclipsed his RBI total from a year ago with the Astros that he did in 133 games. He's probably going to run down that career high because he's on pace for 92 runs knocked in, and he started games at 4 different positions, and I would expect that to continue now as they sort out what's going on at shortstop. But he's got a knack for the clutch hit. He can play everywhere, and he's a Gold Glover 2 times over. This is the kind of piece that you want to add if you're looking to complete a championship-type ball club, and he knows a thing or two about that from Houston.
One of those guys that we talked about stepping up.
Yep.
He's one of those players that seems to be always in the big moment. We're grateful for Mauricio Dubon. Also grateful for a guy who's kind of slid under the radar a little bit here, but he very much is making some noise there in the bullpen. Dylan Lee is a game changer for you. Why?
He is, because the Braves bullpen is changing the game by shortening the game. They're getting the starting that they need to get from the likes of Chris Sale, Bryce Elder, Spencer Strider, and others. And the bullpen, if you look at those last 3 innings, it's Dylan Lee, Robert Suarez, and Raisel Iglesias. The last 2, all-star closers. But what's Dylan Lee doing? Well, he's only pitching to a 1.17 ERA and averaging 11 strikeouts per 9. And we need to recognize that when you're able to shorten the game like that, does the night shift ring a bell?
Ooh.
Good things can happen for a baseball team, especially if you've got those guys running full tilt through October. Dylan Lee, who made a debut, his first career start in the World Series in 2021, could be coming back in a role that he has been very, very good in for the Braves, and that is high leverage relief.
This guy has been around the Braves for a long time, and he is truly making a difference. Yep. I think he is warranted for the game changer title. Also, a guy who can always change the game at any given moment. Maybe he's comparing the size of baseballs there in the dugout, but Ronald Acuna Jr. back in your game changer lineup. Why?
Well, Ronald Acuna has been back in a big way since hitting that grand slam over the Green Monster at Fenway Park. Last 10 games, Braves are 8-2. Acuna batting .333, 5 homers, 10 runs knocked in, 9 runs scored, 7 stolen bases. The Braves, without Drake Baldwin for the last almost 3 weeks, were averaging 5.2 runs before that injury happened. Well, thanks to Acuna and company, they're still averaging 5.2 runs per game. They're still second in the National League in runs scored. And Ronald Acuna Jr., you just knew it was in there. It was going to happen. Now we're seeing him play much more like the guy we expected to see from day one.
We know that he can change anything at any given moment. Also very deserving of that nod. And another guy who is boosting his all-star resume, if you will, Dom Smith. He is a game changer for you. How come?
Big moments. We talked about Mauricio Dubon. How about Dominic Smith? He continues to find ways to contribute to this club. And when I talked to Walt Weiss over the winter, it was, hey, we're going to use that DH spot to kind of slide some different guys around. We think it's going to really help us out. Well, then they signed Dom Smith in spring training, and all he's done is give them great at-bat after great at-bat in the DH spot because he's not going to be starting at first base. Yeah. The all-star thing might be tough at DH because there's some guy named Ohtani that plays in L.A., but Dom Smith has had a renaissance with the Braves. He's having one of his best years of his career, and he's doing so with clutch hits and great at-bats. And the Braves, again, it's the aggregate. It's what they put together beyond just their star players that's helping them win games. He draws a walk today, starts a rally for the Braves. It ends with Michael Harris coming off the bench to give Atlanta a sweep of the Pittsburgh Pirates. You just keep finding these guys, Dom Smith, Jorge Mateo, and Mauricio Dubon in the middle of these types of things because the Braves have built themselves a very complete club.
Alex Anthopoulos, Walt Weiss in their bag, and we are going to keep you in your bag with Grant's Game Changers. Grant, thank you so much. First team in baseball to 40 wins, and they continue to roll. We'll be right back. Hard to believe we're a little over a week away from the FIFA World Cup here in Atlanta, and we as a city continue to get these big events. John, why do we make sense for these big events?
Well, one, we have the greatest venue of all time in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Second, we're friendly down here. All you got to do, when people look you in the eye, they say, what's up? You say, what's up back. We're all cool here in Atlanta. That's why.
How many people know the word y'all? I don't know. Grant, what about you?
They're going to learn the word y'all and how it works and where the apostrophe goes. But no, I mean, Atlanta has a little bit of everything. I feel like it's all of the best things in one place. And when you bring a big event for whatever the sport or whatever the, I think, entertainment value is, I think you get it in Atlanta, and I think people appreciate it too.
People from all over the world coming to the city. We're going to be happy to have you guys here. Can't wait for the FIFA World Cup and can't wait for everything that sports brings. Welcome to Omaha, Georgia Bulldogs. It's going to be a fun run there in Nebraska. Guys, have a great week. I'll see you next Sunday.